quite different from theirs.
I'm not sure what to say.
Oh my God.
Royal guards became concerned after Princess Charlotte quietly asked why her blood type didn't match the royal family's records. Nobody inside the room answered her, not even Princess Kate. The question came after a minor riding accident during a private charity event outside Windsor Hall. Charlotte's injuries were small, just a cut near her hand. But while palace doctors reviewed her medical file later that evening, something made one nurse suddenly stop speaking. Charlotte noticed it immediately. The room became strangely quiet. Two doctors exchanged nervous looks, and moments later, one of them quietly closed the medical folder. That was the first moment Charlotte realized something was wrong. Later that night, she overheard two palace nurses whispering outside the hallway. One sentence reportedly made her freeze completely. The records never matched. Charlotte said nothing afterward, but according to palace staff, the young princess stopped smiling the next morning. Over the following days, servants noticed subtle changes in her behavior. She stopped eating dinner early, canceled piano lessons twice, and every evening after the family went upstairs, Charlotte quietly returned to the palace archive room alone. At first, nobody understood what she was searching for, until Oliver Grant discovered dozens of old hospital photographs spread across a library table late one night. Charlotte reportedly pointed toward one image taken outside St. Mary's Hospital the night she was born, then quietly asked, "Why are there two different nurses holding me?" Grant had no answer, but according to palace staff, that was the moment palace security quietly became involved. The next morning, several old hospital records reportedly disappeared from the archive system. A retired maternity nurse was suddenly contacted by palace officials, and Prince William allegedly canceled 3 royal meetings without explanation. But Charlotte refused to stop searching. Every answer only seemed to lead to another secret. One evening, while reviewing old footage from outside the hospital entrance, Charlotte suddenly paused the screen, then replayed the same 5 seconds over and over again. To newborn BASSINETS. To exhausted nurses. And for one brief moment, the identification tags appeared to be switched. Charlotte reportedly stared at the screen in complete silence before whispering, "That baby wasn't me." According to one palace maid, Princess Kate broke down crying later that night behind closed doors. But nobody inside Windsor Hall was prepared for what happened next, because several days later, Oliver Grant and Charlotte quietly traveled to meet a retired nurse living alone near the coast. The woman reportedly denied everything at first, until Charlotte placed an old hospital bracelet on the table. The nurse froze immediately. Witnesses claimed her hands began shaking almost instantly. Then, after several seconds, she started crying. According to Grant, the woman finally admitted the truth. Years earlier, during a chaotic emergency inside the maternity ward, 2 newborn girls had accidentally been switched. After temporary identification tags became detached, hospital staff reportedly panicked after realizing one of the infants belonged to the royal family. But instead of revealing the mistake publicly, someone chose to hide it. The records were quietly altered, the families were sent home, and the truth disappeared for years. Charlotte reportedly sat in silence after hearing the confession. Nobody inside the room moved. Then finally, she asked only one question: "Where is the other girl now?" According to palace staff, that was the moment everything inside Windsor Hall changed, because for the first time, the mystery was no longer about records. It was about another life. Another family. Another girl who may have spent her entire childhood living inside the wrong world. Several days later, Charlotte reportedly received a sealed folder from Oliver Grant containing limited information connected to the second child. No photographs. No public records. Only a name and a small countryside address outside London. Witnesses later claimed Charlotte stared at the paper for nearly a minute without speaking, before quietly asking, "Does she know?" Grant reportedly looked away before answering, "No." The drive to the countryside allegedly lasted nearly 3 hours. Rain covered most of the windows, and according to one palace servant, Charlotte barely spoke the entire journey. When they finally arrived, witnesses claimed the princess stepped out slowly and stared toward a small blue house. Near the edge of a schoolyard, children's drawings covered the front windows. A bicycle rested near the porch. Nothing about the home looked royal, but according to palace insiders, Charlotte suddenly became emotional the moment she saw a woman standing inside the kitchen doorway. Because the woman reportedly looked strangely familiar. Same eyes, same smile, even the same nervous habit of touching her sleeve while speaking. Nobody moved for several seconds. Then the woman slowly opened the front door. According to one witness, Charlotte started crying before a single word was spoken. The meeting reportedly lasted hours. At one point, palace staff quietly left the room entirely, giving the two families time alone. And according to one servant, the woman eventually admitted she had always felt something strange the night her daughter was born. The hospital staff had acted nervous. One nurse reportedly cried while handing over the baby. But years passed. Life moved on. And eventually, she convinced herself it meant nothing, until Charlotte arrived later that evening. Oliver Grant reportedly found Charlotte sitting alone outside the house, staring at old childhood photographs spread across her lap. Birthday parties, school events, family vacations. An entire life she was never part of. According to Grant, Charlotte asked one question quietly enough that almost nobody heard it. Did she have a happier childhood than me? Grant reportedly said nothing, because he already knew the answer. The following morning, palace insiders claimed Prince William privately offered Charlotte the opportunity to expose everything publicly. The hospital scandal. The altered records, the hidden cover up. But according to one palace staff member, Charlotte refused almost immediately, because after meeting the other family, she realized the truth would destroy both lives completely. One family would lose a daughter, the other would lose their privacy forever, and according to palace staff, that realization changed Charlotte more than the secret itself. Several weeks later, the princess quietly returned to the countryside one final time. No cameras. No royal staff, no public announcement, just Charlotte carrying a small photo album from Windsor Hall. According to one witness, the two young women spent nearly an hour exchanging childhood photographs in silence. Different lives, different families, but somehow the same eyes. And before leaving, Charlotte reportedly hugged the woman tightly and whispered, "I think we both lost something." Then she walked back toward the waiting car without looking behind her. But according to one palace servant, Prince William broke down crying later that night, after Charlotte quietly told him, "I don't want another family destroyed because of me." And if you enjoyed this emotional royal mystery story, leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Do you think Charlotte made the right decision by hiding the truth? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more hidden royal secrets and dramatic palace stories.